Morning. This is Bill Vick, and I am excited today. Shelly Mathis, our executive vice president, joins me in welcoming our newest best friend, who is Jimmy Zollo, who has this incredible company called Joe and Bella. And we're going to talk to Jimmy about Joe and Bella and what it means to the PF Warriors. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by what they do and what we are doing with them. So, Jimmy, welcome to the PF Warriors.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be speaking with you both this morning and of course, to be partnering with PF Warriors. We're really excited.
You know, when I first met you, and I think I told you how impressed I was with not just you and your background and what you were doing, but what you created in Joe and Bella. And Joe and Bella to me it's kind of a breath of fresh air for people like me or like Shelly or like our members who broadly call ourselves seniors. And there's things that we just can't find for us. Joe and Bella fulfills the need. So talk to us and share with us a little bit about Joe and Bella. What is it? How did it come to life? And what does it mean?
Absolutely. So Joe and Bella is a one-stop shop for anything that a senior needs. So it's highly curated, highly tailored products specifically meant for seniors. And for our different partners like PF Warriors, we have tailored products specifically based upon whether it's pulmonary fibrosis, or we partner with those that are providing dementia care or Alzheimer's care or Parkinson's care, so that we have specific, highly curated products that are meant to make the lives easier of those organizations that we're partnering with. But we launched recently, so this is a little bit new to us. We're about a 6-month-old company, so started in the pandemic, but are figuring things out and are really excited about the reception that we've had so far.
Well, one of the things that I love is the story about who is and what is Joe and Bella. Can you take a second and kind of give us that 20,000-foot view of that?
Of course. So my grandparents, they're named for Bert and Lois. And back in 2012, we had to make the decision that a lot of families had to make of moving them into an assisted care community. My grandfather had Parkinsonia dementia, and my grandmother had 3 separate hip surgeries. And after the third one, she was really stubborn about it. And she said, you know what, I'm not really going to do physical therapy anymore. So even though we took her to physical therapy, she wasn't really getting the benefits of it. And they had an in-home caregiver 24/7, but despite that, it just wasn't safe enough. Their needs weren't being fully met living at home. And we had to make the decision, so many do, that is filled with anxiety and stress and feelings of self-doubt about whether or not you're doing the right thing. But we made the last minute move to move them into a care community outside of Chicago. The move was so last minute, in fact, it was Christmas Eve of 2012. So when we showed up, it was, I don't know, it was probably 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. And there was a skeleton crew of staff there welcoming us. And we were fortunate that a caregiver decided to give us a tour around the community. And during the tour, we noticed 2 residents had tagged along, a man and a woman. The man had just the biggest, thickest glasses I've ever seen. And the woman was fully dressed for Christmas Eve. And they slowly started commenting during the tour and making sort of jokes in the back, as if they were kids at the back of the bus. Then after a little bit, they took over the tour, kind of kicked the caregiver out, showed us the rest of the community, and were absolutely hysterical. And we had just the best evening with them. We went from thinking this was going to be one of the absolute worst nights, Christmas Eve, unpacking boxes and dealing with all the stress and anxiety of a move. And there we were, just having a blast. And those 2 individuals, that was Joe and Bella. And Joe and Bella were two widowed Holocaust survivors who had met later in life. Bella had actually survived Dachau concentration camp in Germany. If you want to know more about her personal story, the Chicago Holocaust Museum has actually filmed Bella and has it all out and recorded now, which is just phenomenal. But after that evening, they really became part of our family. They became adopted grandparents for us. They came over for Thanksgiving and Mother's Days and Father's Days and birthdays, and have just been a really amazing impact on our life. And they ate every single meal while our grandparents lived together with each other. And it's that feeling that they gave us that we hope Joe and Bella, the site and the company, gives back to others. That we had all this anxiety of what's the next stage of this life going to be like for our grandparents? Are we making the right decision? Do they have everything do they need? Are they in the right place? And a lot of that stress was relieved that evening, seeing here are these incredible people that are welcoming, that are funny, that are comforting, that are giving us advice, and sort of everything that you hope you could possibly have in that moment, they gave to us selflessly. And so naming the company Joe and Bella is just meant to be an honor to who they were, who Bella still is. Bella's still with us. And we just want to give that feeling back to other folks.
Well, I love the story, and I've heard it a few times, as you and I know, Jimmy. I love the story because it gets to your heart, because we collectively as seniors, and that's kind of a vague word, but like seniors, my friends are mostly, in fact, I think they're all seniors, but we all live with this thing that what you see on the outside isn't what we are on the inside. And I'll share the story because I think it's valid. Patty and I were sitting one night with some other people, some friends, having a glass of wine and talking, and we kind of got in this conversation. Well, inside, how old are you? Not on the outside. And there was this kind of a broad consensus of differences. I felt this is like 2-3 years ago. I felt at that time that's probably maybe 27, 28, something like that. Because that was a time when we first got married and our family was forming. It was an exciting time of life and all that. And people go around the room, and some were in their 40s and some were their real age. But the consensus when it got back to Patty, which I love what happened. So Patty, my wife of 58 years, she says, well, I'm probably about 16. So I'm married to a teenager. But what you're doing, because Shelly, I know you kind of went around and looked at the site and what they have in the site. What did you see and what did you tell me?
What I saw was quality products, not cheap products where you have flimsy T-shirts or things made out of scratchy material. It was very well curated, and with our logo, it looks magnificent. So I can congratulate you on the quality of merchandise you selected.
Thanks, Shelly. And I can't take much of the credit for it, because what we decided to do really early on, because I'm not a merchandising expert by any means. I actually come from a research background, but what we decided to do is, I think any researcher would do, was let's form a panel. And so we went out and got professional caregivers and experts based upon different ability levels in executive directors at care communities and educators. And that team, that panel, helped curate our products and curate what we have to offer. But I love the concept of the age we are is the age we feel, or the age we aspire to be. And that's something that we talk about a lot internally. And just sort of one quick story to highlight that, when during the pandemic was when we decided to start Joe and Bella. And one of the main reasons we did so was we saw the frustration my grandmother had in changing. So putting on putting on a sweater, and I'll talk about it in a second, but also the frustration she had in what she described as old lady clothes and her unwillingness to ever wear old lady clothes. So during the pandemic, like pretty much every care community, the one that my grandmother was at, they went to a total lockdown, and she had developed dementia later in life. So her answering a smartphone and FaceTiming with us was no longer an option. So we could only really communicate with her in two ways. It was if a caregiver had the time and was willing to FaceTime with us. We typically had to schedule it ahead a couple of days. It was really hard. Or you could actually go there and stand a few feet outside. And we decided after a while it was a bad idea because it was frustrating for her. It was confusing. Why aren't they coming in? Why won't they come closer to me? Why won't they hug me? It was a horrible experience. So what we found was a tech product called GrandCare that we actually have on Joe and Bella now. That is a tablet that you can position in the room and you can drop in. So instead of having the receiver have to actually answer the call, you can pop in and start talking. It's phenomenal for folks like my grandmother, who was in a wheelchair and she would never be able to get up and answer something, or had dementia and didn't really understand it. And what we noticed once we had a GrandCare in her room was how horrible it was when she had to put on a sweater or when she had to change any sort of clothing item. And we saw one particular case where she had her arms over her head screaming in pain because her upper arm mobility was really limited. And she was swearing. And that was the first time I've ever heard my grandmother swear in my entire life. It was shocking. And so we called the caregiver afterwards and said, oh my God, that looked traumatic. What can we do? And they recommended adaptive clothing. And we had never heard of adaptive clothing, but for those of you who haven't, it's really simple. Just clothing that has some sort of alteration to make taking it on, taking off way easier, both for the wearer as well as the caregiver. And it's typically far more dignified too. So an example would be just a shirt that opens up in the back. So my grandmother wouldn't have to raise her arms, it just zips up in the back, you slip it around and she's fully dressed. So way easier, less painful, way faster too. And so we looked around, we bought a bunch of stuff online, and my grandmother refused to even try any of it on. She said it was far too ugly. This is old lady clothes. I will not wear it. So that was one of the second inspirations for Joe and Bella, to say, hey, we really need some really beautifully designed, elegant clothes for people that can use adaption, that would make their lives better so that they actually wear it. So that was one of the second things we learned.
Well, Jimmy, I have to announce that we love the story. We love what you're doing with Joe and Bella. We love it even better that we are partnering with Joe and Bella. And starting in the next 2 weeks, we'll be announcing the Joe and Bella store on PF Warriors. And I'd like to give you kind of a little snapshot glimpse of what that's going to look like, because I think it's pretty exciting. Our store, and I say our store because this is the Joe and Bella store for PF Warriors, it has branded logoed items. We do that. We have items that patients and care partners or caregivers need, like, as an example, pulse oxes, walkers. In my case, I don't have a walker, I have a racer. I have a problem with my back, stenosis, so I have a hard time walking sometimes. So that racer will be on Joe and Bella, along with so many other wonderful things. And as Shelly said, this isn't scratchy, icky stuff. There's all kinds of products here. There's t-shirts, there's sweaters, there's slippers, there's pants, there's outfits, there's everything and anything, I think, that a senior, particularly seniors in our community, want and need and can't find. And here's one place to go where it's all here. And I'll give an example. Here's what Joe and Bella has. They have clothing, they have gifts, they have essential box item. I'm not sure what that is. You'll have to explain that to me. I am a senior, so It has bundles and boxes, tech gadgets, personal care items, safety, mobility items, bed and bath items, you name it, it's here. And it's all elegant. It's not just what you might think of is older people's clothes, as your grandmother pointed out. We don't want to be tagged as quote elderly or old. We may accept senior, but inside we're all something else. And this caters to that. It's elegant, nice things that's easier for us to use. And I have to say, it's really exciting. So, where do you expect to go with Joe and Bella?
Yeah, first of all, I really appreciate that. We have spent countless hours finding the right products and the right brands. And what we'll say too, especially for anything that's listed on our PF Warriors, is we want your recommendations, we want your suggestions, we want your thoughts. If there's anything we're missing, if there's any other brands that you all are in love with that we ought to be aware of, let us know. We want Joe and Bella to really be a community for those for which we serve, and we're only going to be as good as the feedback that we get. As hard as I am out there looking, I'm obviously not living with pulmonary fibrosis right now. So you will have far better insights than I will as to the type of products that will best meet your needs. So please always let us know. As far as where we're going, we do have some exciting announcements that I can partially announce. I can't give the full announcement yet until a few more contracts are signed, unfortunately. However, the first that I can say is we are partnering with a design firm called Apparel Mark. Apparel Mark is phenomenal. They are folks that started over at Lululemon, but they've helped revolutionize clothing in a few other ways. So the first they did with a brand called Figs that reinvented nursing scrubs. And they also have reinvented maternity wear. They've reinvented sort of men's casual wear with a brand called Public Rex. These are really great designers, and we've partnered with them to start our own official Joe and Bella label, which is really, really exciting. And it's going to be a label of both adaptive and non-adaptive clothes. Hopefully within the next 6 months, you'll start to see the first products coming out. The second announcement that I can partially announce is part of that line will be the adaptive part. Will have some patented technology as part of it. So we are in the process of acquiring a patent that we can talk about a little bit more, hopefully by next week. So stay tuned at that announcement.
And I have to say, Jimmy, that we didn't even talk about it, but a portion of all items purchased through Joe and Bella on our PF Warriors Joe and Bella site will be coming back to help fund the many good things we do or try to do. And for that, we are eternally grateful. And we don't cater to the money that we need, but we sometimes have to. So your generosity to us is well accepted and respected, and we thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying that, but totally, and that's it. This is why we're doing it, is to be able to partner with folks like you and hopefully give back in any small way. And I'll tell you where the inspiration for this came from. It was, again, the pandemic, in watching what those professional caregivers had to go through in my grandmother's community. In their case, in order to, this is obviously pre-vaccine, in order for them to continue working at their job, they had to give up any other second job that they may have had, and which is very typical for professional caregivers. You're probably working 9 to 5 at a community, and maybe you're taking night shifts somewhere else, or you're working for the weekend for a separate family. And so a lot of these caregivers had to make this horrible choice of, do I quit this one job to stay here, or do I give up 30% of my salary to go here? And where am I going to recoup that? And 100% of them ended up staying with my grandmother's community. They all made that sacrifice. And then on top of that, they had to work longer hours than they've ever had to work, because in addition to what they were regularly had to do, which was a really challenging job, they were sticking to COVID protocols, which meant constantly cleaning, constantly moving things around, and the residents were far more spread out than ever before. That also made things way more challenging. And then they were doing things like taking phone calls for families and FaceTiming for families and all these other things that didn't used to be part of their job. They made it part of their daily routine. And on top of that, we got to see through band care how they really interacted with my grandmother. And it was with love and affection and empathy, and it really felt like they were an extension of our family. And we are eternally grateful for the sacrifices that they made and so many other made for their families, and for the work that your organization are doing. So many other phenomenal organizations are doing that. For us to be able to give back to our partners in this way is really the least we can do for all that they've done for us.
Well, Jimmy, I have to tell you, Shelly and I have talked many times about Joe and Bella, and we both tagged you as one of the good guys. And you really are. You have a heart, and you're doing things for us that we just can't find elsewhere for lots of reasons, but you're doing it. And it's not just about the dollars and cents here. It's about the end result of our patients, our members, our care partners having resources and access they just can't find elsewhere. And there's one place to do it. We'll be announcing this for an official launch, be November 1. But if you kind of watch for emails or postings online on our Facebook page or group, you're going to see a little tickler here and there about where we're slowly bringing it to life. You'll have the opportunity to kind of kick the tires with us and tweak it and perfect it and make sure it's exactly what it needs to be, because this is about us collectively, and it's going to be a resource and a tool that I think is going to help people in living with pulmonary fibrosis. And Jimmy, thank you, and thank those watching. And I have to say goodbye because we've been running way over where we planned to be, but it was worth the call. And thank you all. Goodbye.
Jim. Bye-bye.
Thank you.